Hi, my name's Brian, and this is my story. It's kind of funny. Sometimes when you think life is over, it really has only just begun. I grew up in a Christian home where I had every opportunity to do the right thing and to live in a way that would be pleasing to God. Instead, I was the type I had to find my own way, make my own path in the world. It's a very headstrong, classic prodigal. In my 20s, I basically lived a life that was nowhere near God-pleasing. It was a life that was experimental. It was a life that was just kind of lived on a whim and was just blown about in the wind. And I finally found myself at the end of my rope, and I ended up making a mistake that cost me 4 years of my life, where I was incarcerated. At that point, I would be what you would consider a classic rock bottom. I still remember inside the county jail that my dad's assistant pastor came to see me, and he shared of the book of Genesis, and he shared John 3:16 with me, and we really started to get into the Bible. And it had been so long since I'd even opened the Bible or really paid attention. It was just something I did because my parents were getting on my back about not going to church. And I remember actually going to church with hangovers and not wanting to hear what the pastor said, who just happened to be my dad. And what's funny is at this point in time, I was really at a point where I was willing to listen. There was nowhere else I could go. There was nothing else that I could do. And so finally, God had placed me in a position that I could hear. And I was hungry. And I still remember the prayer of that day when I went back to my cell, and I said, God, I don't even know if you're real. I don't know if you exist. But if you do, then show yourself to me. Let me be able to feel you and know that you're there. And that began a wonderful journey. Over the next 48 months, I actually went from county jail to prison to, I ended up only having to spend, actually technically 44 months inside, and then I was released to a halfway house. At that time, I actually was given the job that I had today. It sometimes has its trying days, but it's provided for me somehow, in spite of me not knowing anything and not having any vision of the direction where it would go. I was just faithful, and I followed, and God has done the most marvelous things where He's made a way when I really thought there was no way. God has given me a beautiful wife and 2 wonderful kids and a home, and I've been able to serve here in the church. I sing. I get to use talents that I thought were long gone. I've been given awesome friends and a sense of belonging that I never had at any time in my life. I now have a life that has come after I thought my life was over. I know this, that when I figured out who my Maker was, and that He actually had a purpose for my life, and that all I had to do was follow, that's when my life began to change. That's when my life began to change. It wasn't about my worthiness. It wasn't about anything that I'd done, right or wrong, in my life. It was just a surrender of my will and a willingness to be led. The greatest joy of my life is this, that my Maker made me for a specific purpose, which is to praise Him and to live a life that glorifies and honors Him. Everything else is just icing on the cake. I'm grateful for the life He's given me, and I'm grateful that He made me.